A warm welcome into Sit Still Look Pretty. Hello, Miss Priyanka.
Good morning. We're recording this at 8 a.m. in the morning. It's the month of November.
It's the only 8 a.m. recording that Priyanka will be happy about. You ask her to come down for 8 a.m. for anything else in life, Miss Priyanka is going to be like, it's a little too early for me.
This shows that I should just be a full-time content creator. What am I doing with my life?
It's okay, you're living the best of both worlds. Yeah, but talking about being extremely, happy about doing Sit Still Look Pretty, once upon a time,
Yes.
Sit Still Look Pretty was merely an idea, a seed, until we said, let's go ahead and do it.
That's right.
And I feel like that perfectly aligns with the topic of the month, which is Allez.
A lot of people don't know what that is.
Allez is the French term for to go, which is primarily used in fencing when the coach initiates the participants to start fencing. I feel like there is a special reason we chose this topic and this particular name for this month's episode, and you'll find out very soon why. But I feel like it also is very relatable into our daily lives, because I feel like there's always moments in our life where we are like almost standing at the edge of something, making big decisions where we just need a push. So I feel like we should take this month's episode to talk about our Allez moments. What do you think?
I'm so glad that I made you say the topic of the month, because you sound so smooth when you say it. It's like she's already French. And she walked
For
in
one
French.
word. Bonjour.
Lots of Emily Berries.
Je m'appelle Priya.
I will push you out of the studio right now. We're not in Paris.
Damn it.
But yeah, speaking of this word, I really feel like, there's so many impossibilities ahead of us. And every time we make a very huge decision in our life, it is that moment where you have to tell yourself like, okay, go, like start, or have to break through and come through. So I guess we're going to be discussing about what was our moments where we hesitated to like make that little bit of a push to go forward. We needed that little bit of nudge to push forward. So are you all ready for some good story time? So I'll go first. I will share about the moment that I needed a little bit of nudge. And this happened when I was 22 going into 23. As you all know, for the longest period of time, Priya and I have been working together, and I enjoyed that a lot, At certain point of times, like Priya and I were both teased of like people who used to tell us like, you can't always be working together for like the next like 20 years of your life. There is going to be moments where Priya and you start to do different things. And before I go on to share, I just want to ask you, how do you feel about that? Like every time people came up to us and kept telling us that, you can't keep traveling like this, like all the way in your life, like professionally. There will be a time where you all two will want two different things, and what you all have now, like working together, it's not going to be a forever thing. Did you ever feel like fear set in?
I feel like if it was with anybody else, I feel like there would be that fear or like that insecurity of like, oh, maybe this is just too good to be true. But I feel like why I really love our relationship like so much is because it has always been out of the ordinary for me. And I feel like from the very like get-go, like I felt like a certain sort of like, I feel like our foundation was just so strong. And the amount of like trust I had on that foundation just made it very obvious that people are just projecting.
Okay, you know why I asked you? Because I just wanted to see like how you felt about it. I know we never sat down on a table and like talk about it when people will always put to tell us those kind of things. But in my heart, it was the same thing. Like, do I know at the back of my mind that one day there might be the possibility that we don't work together? Yes. But was I afraid and like told myself like that would be the end of things? No, because I always knew in my gut that no matter what, we might not be having the same full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And I told myself that back then when we were, I was telling myself that then just enjoy it to the fullest, which I also feel very happy because I feel like I really enjoyed it to the fullest when we were working together. Without a doubt, I can say this on camera that Priya and I had a blast when we were working together. So naturally at 22 when I was turning to 23, and I feel like this part of me about how much as I enjoy storytelling, writing, filming, being behind the scenes, I also equally enjoyed social media. I enjoyed the marketing side of things, which I'm very glad because I feel this side of me I would have never ever discovered if we didn't work together and we were given opportunities to touch on social media. It was not just behind the scene work, we were also touching social media. And that's when I really knew that wow, that side of things I really enjoy as well. So I remember poly, the final year, my contemplation was choosing between campaigns and broadcast. So it was a very tough choice because I remember sitting with you and going wow, I really don't know whether we should go with broadcast. No regrets. I completely had a time of my life doing broadcast as well. But when I went to uni, I knew in my head that I should step away and try something else already. And that's why when I was going into the 23 era of my life, I told myself that I need a change. If I keep doing what I'm doing, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I just feel that at one point of time, you will just think that that is your world, but that can't just be the only thing you have tried in your life. And that's the part that I always feel that sometimes we succumb ourselves to that circumstance because we are so afraid of the impossibilities of what if I choose something else and I fail? And I also had that thought in my head, what if I absolutely hate that part of the marketing side of things? Because the truth is, growing up, I've always told myself, I'm not desk bound. I've told myself that I can never do a 9 to 6 desk bound job. Look at me now. My alarm goes off at 6:50 a.m. in the morning. I go to sleep at 10 p.m. at night. And these are things that I'm still trying to get used to be honest, okay? And I think the corporate world is something whereby it is so different from what we used to do, till today, sometimes I'm in a meeting and I feel oh my God, I cannot believe I've grown up to be sitting down in a meeting, a professional meeting with people who have years of experience, and then there's me in the room who just started. So sometimes my heart really pounds, during meeting because I'm I don't know whether I'm good enough. But the thing is, everybody starts somewhere, So I guess my little nudge came from the fact that there's something that you're interested in. Your 20s is the time that you can fall, you can make mistakes because there's no commitments just yet.
So you're looking for future commitments?
No, I'm not looking for any commitments. But yeah, all jokes aside, I think going into the field of marketing is something that I really don't regret because I completely enjoy coming up with big ideas, creative ideas. And if anything at all, Priya, I feel this little nudge to have tried something different has made me so much confident in the storytelling aspect. It has also made me so much more confident in what I want to do with Sit Still Look Pretty, where I want to go from here forth. And I feel I would have not learned how much I love what we do today if I never stepped away from it. And sometimes I feel the best decision is to break out of something, go and try something else, and then you will realize whether or not you truly love what you love or there's something else. And I feel there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah. I feel if you're so hard-headed on what you want to do, that's perfectly fine. But I feel we also live in an era and time where we have the opportunities to explore and experience new things. And I feel being a very multifaceted individual is a very powerful capability to hold at this day and age. So having multiple skills under your belt is, I feel very, very crucial. I feel when you do something very constantly, sometimes purpose can get foggy or your love can get faded, and having that break to miss it or get re-inspired or to like, align your chakras.
I didn't see that coming, for sure.
But it's a good thing.
Since you talk about chakras and everything, we need to let them know which part of your chakra is not aligned now. Then you actually knew what I was trying to say. But jokes aside, like tell me, what was your moment of you needed a little nudge and be like, okay, I need to go forth, I need to do this.
I quit my job. Don't overreact. She was the one who vetted my resignation letter. Me typing it on a Sunday night and being like, Priyanka, please tell me. Please be my copywriter and vet through my resignation letter. And she was like, 100.
Yes. Priya actually doesn't need any direction. She knows all direction in her life. She just likes to pretend. It's like, am I okay? I'm like, what is wrong?
It's very like funny that since the Look Pretty started, I think I've truly gone on like a journey of like like my career, my education. Like it's all been aired out there. So I feel like I owe it to the people to let them know that once again I'm at a detrimental point in my life. But it's all good. It's all good. I'm not like I'm quitting my job. I have no money. I'm homeless. No. I'm still very much put together, but I think it was
financially very strong that sometimes she even pays for my food. Yeah, go on.
But yeah, it was a very big decision, and it was a very scary decision because I think at the end of the day, I do what I like. I am working in a field that we found our love for it together in. But I think I've also been a very like realistic person in a sense that I know it's important for me to do something that I like, but I'm also very focused on ensuring that financially I'm like able to like take care of my personal expenses, the expenses that's required for my family. So like these are like my main two gists. And if at the end of the day, I felt like if I had to compromise one, maybe I could compromise the fact that I needed to like what I do. I mean, without money, the world can't go on. So when I was hitting a point in my job where it felt like my like for it was starting to die off a little bit, I was like, you know what, Priya, just push through it because, you're earning well, you're putting money on the table. And at the end of the day, I'll always have this. To like that I'll never fall out of love with. So like even if like I'm not happy about going to my 9 to 6, like it wasn't always 9 to 6, but it's okay. I think there's a difference between like just looking at your work as a job and like you don't have to like it and just thinking of a means to like earn money versus realizing that okay, you know what, I think my job is exceeding the point of like it's just a job to like it's consuming me in a very like unhealthy manner. I'm spending so much time on it that I'm not able to like even do my own job well because I'm like at my mental capacity. I'm constantly exhausted. I'm tired and I can't catch my footing. You feel like you're drowning. I feel like then it's no longer you just falling out of love with your job. It's you needing some help. When I realized that I wasn't going to get it staying in the position that I did, then I think I was like, okay, and be like, hey, look here. Thank you for the amazing opportunity. I've made great use of it for the 1 year to like learn as much as I can. But now it's time for me to step out and go and learn somewhere else. I think like letting go of a job when you're like 18, 19, 20 is one thing. Letting go of a job when you're like 24, 25 starts to feel very nerve-wracking because now you're like, now, yes, you may not have all the commitments of like a 30, 35-year-old, but you are at the stage where you are starting to like take certain ownerships. You're starting to take on certain responsibilities.
Yeah, and I just want to like take this moment to also address something that I've been seeing a lot and it really put in a lot of thoughts in my head. So I also wanted to discuss this with you. I've been on the side of TikTok whereby I'm hearing a lot of young people talk about this topic, and it's about the topic about, and you brought it up as well yourself, whereby your job does not have to be one that you're extremely passionate and in love with.
Yeah.
Some people just do their 9 to 6 because it funds a holiday trip. It funds the things that they love to do outside of work. So the 9 to 6 is just to get that cash. And I feel like for the longest period of time, I had troubles like coming to terms with it. Because I remember back then, like my 18, 19 years old, my brother used to always tell me this line. He was like, you know that life is not about working at the place that you're passionate about. And like every 100 people, maybe one person gets to wake up and tell that this is my dream job and I'm so happy that I'm working at my dream job. But that is 1 in 100. And I used to be on the other side of the spectrum, right? So I used to be like, you're talking rubbish. Why would I put myself in a situation whereby that is not my passion and I'm still working? And then you step into adulthood and you realize the truth of it. Then comes the distinguished line, right? It can be something that you're not passionate about, but it should still be serving you something.
Yeah.
At this point, I feel for yourself, you have reached the point whereby it's not serving you.
Yeah.
At least as your friend, when I see my friend constantly exhausted, like week after week after week, you know, and like we are sitting down for a nice meal, but more than I see you smile on the table, I can just see like your exhaustion. And that's where I feel like as a friend, it's also my role to tell you that, hey, Priya, like this is not working. And having had the experience of working my 9 to 6 and having time away from my 9 to 6, right? I really want that for you. I'm not saying that you will never ever be able to not work beyond your office hours. You should. If you want to, I feel like it's an option that should be given to you. If I want, I can work. But it should not be that I have to work. If I don't work, you know, I cannot complete my task. So I just want to say that I'm very excited for the next chapter. Yes, of course, there are commitments as you're growing up. You are paying for certain things. You're liable for certain things. But I feel like in your 20s, if it's not now to go and explore, fall down a little bit, get bruised a little bit, you don't have stories to tell on Sister Look Pretty. So like...
So this is me solely making content for Sister Look Pretty.
Yeah, thanks, cheers.
But now that we've talked about our Allez moments, I feel like it's time to ask our guest speaker about their Allez moment. And if anybody knows about this word Allez, I think she would be the most qualified. So shall we Allez on to the next segment?
I say, you just can't stop using the word, right?
Today, we have a very special guest in the studio who is none other than Amita Berthier.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Amita is a national fencer and a 2-time Olympian. She made history in 2020 as the first Singaporean to secure an Olympic spot through a qualifying tournament for the Tokyo Games. Her achievements include a bronze medal at the 2018 Asian Games, gold at the 2019 SEA Games, and bronze at the 2023 Asian Fencing Championships. Amita is currently ranked 28th in the world, according to the International Fencing Federation. Earlier this year, Amita qualified for the Paris Olympics and has done us proud by putting up a really strong fight. Having gone up against an opponent more than 20 places ahead of her in the world rankings, it is her resilient spirit and her consistency in her desire to break boundaries that we want to celebrate on our podcast today. So let's find out from Amita all that entails to embody the true spirit of fencing.
Yeah.
But can I just say, so proud, like to see somebody so young, our age, while me and Priya are sitting down at home and watching TV, we are like, wow, there's somebody out there, you know, carrying the Singapore flag. And I think it was such true great like resilient spirit and such great fight that you put out at Paris Olympics.
Thank you.
So proud.
Thank you.
And we have a list of questions to brave with you today. I did some pretty good stalking.
Ooh,
and
I'm scared.
and I realized that fencing wasn't the thing that you initially started with like during your younger days, because I learned that you explored gymnastics, football before finding your passion in fencing, right? So I want to know, how did these early experiences in different sports, right, shape your approach towards finding yourself in fencing and your overall mindset of like why you even chose fencing?
Yeah, so I started with gymnastics and football when I was like 5 or 6, so pretty like in my early days. But I think like, you know, gymnastics and football are two very like resilient sports. I mean, sports in general are all like you have to have a lot of grit and everything. But like I remember my gymnastic teachers being pretty strict on me when I was like 5, but also, you know, teaching us the difference of like knowing when to have fun and when to like know when to focus during like the classes. And football, of course, gave me like the stamina that I needed for fencing. So I think they taught me, you know, different things that I brought into fencing. And at a young age, like learning how to be a, you know, determined, resilient sportswoman definitely helped me a lot in terms of like my career and stuff. Like just gave me a lot of discipline to start with at a young age.
Fencing is something that it's a little bit of a niche, right? Because in Singapore, like things that you really hear about, it's like swimming, like football. So I just want to find out, like, how did you find yourself like with the sport at the start?
Yeah, so actually it was by chance. So it was during school holidays. My sister and I and my family were just walking in United Square. I don't know if you know.
Yes.
We used to go there for tuition at the learning lab. And it just happened that we were walking around and we saw like this Club Z fencing, and it was made out of glass. So we could see from the outside like what it looked like. And then we saw like these little kids like playing with swords, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then my parents like signed my sister and I up for like a 1-week course. And the coaches, of course, were like, oh, your kids are so good. They tell this to every kid. So like, I was like, at that time, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm really good. You know, I didn't understand that they were just like, it was a marketing scam. But no, yeah, we just like carried through it, and it helped that we had like tuition there. So it was like, okay, after like 3 hours of science class, like I can go and like stab people. Like that sounded pretty
Great outlet.
enticing for like a 7-year-old, you know. So yeah, I just carried on with it. And my sister and I like started going internationally. We won our first competition in Scotland in like our previous, like in our respective age categories, and we just like loved it from then on. So then I had to choose fencing or football at that time. And I was in all-girls school, so football wasn't a CCA at that time. So I just continued with fencing.
What got you to wanting to do it at a competitive level, at an international level?
I think like winning our first competition definitely helped. Like we're like, okay, we're pretty good at this. Like it wasn't just a marketing scam. But we won it, and then I liked like the thrill of like competing against someone. And it's like it's a very individual sport. So it's like you can train as much as you want for it also, but you're competing against someone. So it's nice because it's like it's kind of like boxing in a way. Like you can train as much as you want and you can be super fast, super strong, but at the end of the day, you don't know what your opponent's gonna do. Yeah. So it's like it's unexpected, you know, and that's what I really love about fencing, because it's like the thrill. It's like physical chess. Like, yes, you know, you can train as much as you want, but at the end of the day, like in that moment, on that day, you have to know how to adapt. And yeah, it can be challenging at times, but I don't know, the adrenaline that I get is something that I can't really explain unless you're in my shoes, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Why I'm nodding my head is because there was this this is so embarrassing to say, but I'll still say it.
Oh my god, I know what
what did you find?
No. This is not about you. Okay. It's the fact that I was so obsessed with this Korean drama that was on fencing.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Yes. I didn't watch it though.
I think as someone who plays the sport, you might find it a little bit cringe. You might be like,
you'll be surprised the number of fencers that watched it, including my sister and my mom. But I'm just not a K-drama girl. So yeah.
Because I'm also not a K-drama girl. Don't ask me why that piqued my interest. I have no idea. But wow, like that was the first time that I was like, this is so cool, because I realized that I think they made it. One thing good about the drama is they can make you realize that you can't plan your moves, and that's something that I see that even you brought it up. And I thought that was really a very cool aspect to like not plan your moves. So you'll be using both sides of your brain. But now to move on to the training and preparation part, I just want to find out a little bit more about yourself preparing for the Olympics, because that's crazy, the preparation, I can imagine. So I just want to know a typical day of yours when you are preparing for the Olympics. Like, how does your day start, and like what goes into the preparation?
Yeah, so this Olympic cycle was pretty interesting for me. I changed coaches like maybe 9 months ago, so pretty recently, and it was quite a bold move to make like Olympics, but we recently got a new national coach. So he was like the head coach of the national team in Japan for the past 20 years, like brought the entire Japanese team up. They're like one of the best in the world right now. So basically he created this plan for me that I had never really done before, like a routine for like, okay, for the next 6 months is what we're going to do every single day. So it was like super precise, something that, I wasn't really used to, because usually I just go like week by week, talk to my trainers, like just kind of like casual. But this was like, okay, let's stick to the plan. Let's be disciplined about it, which was really nice. So my typical week would be Monday, Tuesday, morning, afternoon training, Wednesday, morning and then afternoon off. Thursday, Friday, morning and afternoon, same thing. And Saturday morning, it would be like my worst session of the week. Like he would like brutally like murder me in the morning, like to be like, okay, like that's a nice way to end the week. But basically I would do like conditioning usually in the mornings, like conditioning and lift. And then in the afternoon, it would be like one-to-one individual work with my coach. And then like some sparring sessions. So like typically I fence with like a group of like 5 or 6 people that are like, pretty strong. I asked them to come down and train with me. So I was super grateful because my training timings were completely different from like the rest of fencing Singapore, because I was the only one that had qualified for the Olympics. So like my coach didn't want me training too late because he wanted me to get sufficient rest. So I was super lucky because there were people that wanted to come down, like obviously to like better themselves and also get like the opportunity to be like, okay, this is how like an Olympian is training, but also just to like help me. So I was really grateful because, they had their own priorities, their school. I was a full-time athlete, so it was kind of like they were working according to my schedule. Okay. So I was very grateful for them.
So how early do you start your day?
Honestly, not that early, to be honest. Like I would usually start at like 9:30, 10, not like the 4:45 a.m. early bird kind of thing.
Yeah, that was what I was afraid about. I was she got to say like, okay.
No. Like my coach really believes in rest and recovery, and I think that's why he thought that was a good time. It's also a good time for him to wake up. Like, let's be real. He wasn't even there half my conditioning sessions. He left it to my gym coach so he could sleep in. Don't mind to call him out.
He's also prioritizing his rest, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to be in the best mindset to teach Amita.
He has to deal with me 6 times a week. So that's a lot. It's a handful.
Yeah. But a fun question for you, because throwback to my secondary school days whereby I hated my CCA so much. I loved the sport. I used to play netball. I loved the sport. But I hated my coach. Because she was so like fierce with us. It's like, even if you're throwing up, right, you have to run the 20 minutes. Like,
oh man, which school did you go to? Can you say? Okay, makes sense. Kidding.
So like I hated my life. I loved the sport, and then to a certain degree I started to hate the sport, and I hated. So I just want to ask you, do you have like bad beef with coaches, or like when they are too fierce, like how do you deal with it?
Yeah, she's trying to get the tea.
Honestly, like I'm a pretty like feisty person when it comes to like coaches.
Okay.
So like I think they know me. Like I'm like, what you see is what you get. So I am just who I am with them. I'm very honest. Like when I'm upset about something, you can see it through my face. I'm very bad at hiding my emotions sometimes. I wouldn't say I necessarily ever like hated a coach. I would say like the coach that I currently have has probably been like the most brutal and like honest with me, which has definitely helped me like, I don't know, build a different kind of like strength. Like, it's like, okay, like he's just not gonna be like nice to me because like he loves me. Like I know that he loves me. I know like all my previous coaches, I've been really lucky that they've all cared about me. They just show their care and love in different ways. And this one is just like, okay, like you want to be the best. Like this is how you're gonna get to the road to being the best. And I genuinely feel like, in the past 8 months with working here in such a short period of time, I've improved a lot. And not just like physically, like I was in the best physical shape of my life before the Olympics, which was really hard to do, like just like with the 4 months of preparation. So he did a really good job there. But also just like my mental tenacity, like on the strip, like when I'm fencing, and like how to be tough with opponents, like huge credit to him, because I think like maybe my other coaches were not soft. He says like people were too soft with me, but I think they just like, they didn't want to hurt me, because like they know I've been through a lot in my life and everything. So I think a lot of my coaches, predominantly men, were just trying to be like kind of like father figure, like role models for me. And he is too. He's just like tougher kind of guy. Tough love kind of guy. Yeah.
I'm curious to know, was there a specific part of your training regime that you dreaded? Like, is it the diet? Is it the conditioning?
So they didn't really put me on a diet, because like fencing, we don't really have like weight category. So like I have a nutritionist, and she does like she pinches my skin to like see my fat percentage and stuff like that, like regularly.
Pinches your skin?
Yeah, it's called skin fold. So it's like they pinch it and then they like measure, like I don't know the science behind it. I'm not a science girl. But I dreaded, like really absolutely dreaded like Saturday morning training, because it would be like I wouldn't know what to expect. I would just know that it would be like stamina based. It would be like an hour long, but like it would be like the worst hour of my life, and then I wouldn't want to move like for 30 minutes after that. So it would be like sprinting, like shuttle run up and down, and then like immediately in my fencing suit, and then immediately hook up and like fence about with like a task that I don't know what my coach is gonna make me do. Once I had my physical conditioning coach like come in with a deck of cards, and he was like, let's play a game today, and I was like, no way, like I know what he's gonna do. But I didn't. I thought he was just gonna make me like, guess a number. So he was like, guess if it's black or red, because in a deck of cards it's either black or red. And every time I guessed the color, then I would just have to do like a core exercise of the number on the card. But if I guessed it wrong, I would have to do that number but shuttle runs. So that specific training session, I swear to God, for the first 45 minutes, I did not get a single color right. So I had to just keep doing shuttle runs back and forth, back and forth. I literally hated them. My coaches were just talking and laughing among themselves, and I wanted to kill all of them. But I had no choice, I had to do it. And then after that, I was like, yeah, I hated that training session, but I was like super like grateful that they came in and they beat me up, because I was like, it made me tougher,
Yeah.
So yeah, but I will never recommend that for him ever again. And then when I went to Paris, I bought him a deck of cards. But I was like, you can never use this against me on one condition, like you can never use it against me. Deal. So yeah.
But now that we're talking about like tougher things, I just want to ask you, I'm pretty sure you have spent a good amount of your life training with like different amount of hardships and level of difficulties. But as an athlete, right, there's definitely a fair share of disappointments and angry moments that you would have had. And I want to ask you today that if something comes to your mind first that probably brought a lot of hardship and difficulty, what would that be for you?
Other than like losing my dad at a young age, probably like moving to the US at a young age also, because it was a couple months after my dad had passed. So there was a lot of changes in my life. I was also still deciding if I wanted to continue fencing. I knew that I wanted to fence, but I also just like kind of wanted to be in Singapore, like with my mom and my sister. But I think just moving to the US at a young age and having to learn how to be independent at like 15 and a half in like a totally new country was probably one of the biggest and hardships and toughest moments of my life. But I'm super grateful that happened. Everything happens for a reason. Obviously, I wish my dad was here, but if he was here, like I probably would not have gone to the US. Probably would have stayed here in like a comfortable setting. So I think that situation made me like comfortable in an uncomfortable setting, and like learning how to be independent and adapting to a new culture, which was tough to say the least, because like, American culture and Singaporean culture is completely different. Like a young Singaporean girl going to like Boston was really difficult for me. But I was really lucky that the club that I was there was very like welcoming. I stayed with a host family that was Asian American, so that helped me have like a little home away from home. And they took really good care of me. So I think that also gave my mom a bit of peace of mind. So yeah, probably like moving to the US at a young age.
Do you ever self-doubt yourself like over there during this period, because you're staying away from your family, right? And you need something that grounds you to keep pushing forward. Like what was that for you?
Probably just like breaking more milestones for Fencing Singapore. I think like now, like fencing is pretty well known like in the community, and especially like sports that people look out for, because we are growing and being pretty successful in the Southeast Asian Games level. So I think like the motivation was okay when I won like my first World Championship medal at under 17. Like nobody had done that, in my weapon. It's just me and another girl that had ever won a World Championship medal in that category at that time. So it was like really inspiring, like to see like how many people reached out to me, like to thank them, like, wow, this is an amazing result. Like, thank you for putting Singapore on the map. And I think like whenever people would like, congratulate me, it would just make me feel like, okay, wow, I did them proud, like let me just keep wanting to inspire these people. So that's probably like was my biggest motivation and thing that kept me grounded, because it just like kept pushing me, to want to like do better and better and better.
I definitely want to touch in on balancing your academic responsibilities with your training as a fencer as well.
Yeah, I think like my first year was probably like the hardest year for me. I honestly did not start well, like academically. Like it was really challenging because I was traveling every other week, like not just to like Europe, like to Asia and stuff like that. And the rule in my school and most universities in the US is that we have 3 unexcused absences. And after that, like the professor can choose what they want to do, if they want to accept your excuse or your reason, blah, blah, blah. So there was a certain class that I was in, it's actually French. I was doing pretty well in that class, but I had missed I had used up all my 3 unexcused absences because I had missed the first week of class due to Asian Games. So I already missed my my first week and everything. And he had told me that if I don't get back on Monday at this time, he will drop me an entire letter grade. So from whatever I was to B, C, whatever the grade was. So certain times it would have been a bit challenging because I had to change my flight schedule based on how easygoing my professors were. For the most part, I was really grateful to have very understanding professors. They know that Notre Dame is not just an American-based school. There are a lot of international people there. And fencing was also really respected in my school because we had the most number of national championships titles. So we were probably we are the best sport in my school. So they had that respect for us. But in the beginning, balancing studies and sports was so difficult for me. But I asked my seniors how they did it. And they gave me advice, and I talked to academic counselors, which we were provided with, which was really nice because they really support student athletes at my school. So I was super blessed that the academic side of things were really challenging, really difficult. Notre Dame is a really, really good school. But at the same time, they respect sports athletes. So I just reached out to all my professors. I told them, look, this is my situation. I really want to pass this class. How can we make this work? So sometimes I'd be at 10 p.m. In Serbian time zone or something, and then my professor would make a Zoom call with me, and I'd be okay, what did I miss in class today? So you gotta sacrifice your time on that part, but it's worth the sacrifice because I got to travel for competition. And yeah, I was really blessed with nice professors, so that helped also.
I'm very curious because Priyanka shared this with me earlier that when you went on to pursue your study overseas, you drew up a contract to your parents.
Oh my god, yeah. I can't even remember what I was at the time, but I was a little sneaky kid. When I was younger, I would write fake MCs so that I couldn't go to school. That was just how it was. But I think my mom would know this better, but I wrote some kind of contract where it's I'm gonna go to the US and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna achieve this, this is it. You have to accept my contract. It wasn't really a contract, it was a one-way deal type thing. But yeah, that was just me, when I'm set on doing something, I really just give my 100%.
You're so young. And to have such a responsible...
She's the one that is also 23, but sure.
No, just because I'm not as responsible. But yeah, you're so... I feel you're so responsible and you seem to have a very straight goal of what you want to do, how you want to achieve it. So I'm just curious where this mindset came from.
I don't know if I'd call myself responsible. Maybe discipline at times would be a better word. But I think honestly I think I got it from my mom. My mom is such a strong woman. Seeing her deal with the passing of my dad at such a young age, and growing up with her being a single parent without any warning, because my dad's death was a sudden one. So seeing how strong she was, even though at times I know she wasn't strong, but having to be strong for her kids, I think that immediately helped me grow up 10 times faster than the average person my age, because I'm okay, let me try to relieve some stress off my mom. And a huge motivation for why I wanted to be successful was because I wanted to give her I don't know, I didn't want her to worry so much about my career, what I was going to do, if I was going to get into a good college, blah, blah, blah. I knew that if I was based in the US, the scouting processes were, they were if you did well in a competition, the coaches would reach out to you. So when I secured a good spot and a scholarship at my university, I think it gave her peace of mind knowing, okay, my daughter's gonna get a degree. Typical Asian parent mindset. Okay, if sports doesn't work out, at least she has a degree kind of thing. Yeah. But I think without her support and seeing how strong she was, I don't think I would, be who I am today and also have achieved the things that I did, because her support meant a lot to me, and just seeing again how strong she was and putting up that front, even if it was a front at times for my sister and I, was definitely inspiring.
But you are a 2-time Olympian now. You've competed both in Tokyo and in Paris. And I definitely want to learn about your perspective and how you approached each competition. Was there a shift in perspective? But before I dig into that, I have to ask the question that I've been dying to ask, because ever since like the Paris Olympics started, everybody has been raving about like this chocolate muffin cupcake that was life-changing. And I want to know whether you've had it and is it what the hype?
Okay, so I actually did have it before it was like the hype kind of thing, because like I have TikTok and like Instagram, and like I didn't see people posting about it until like after I left the village. So because I wasn't in the village for super long. People might hate me or cancel me for this, but it's really not that good. Like, it's like when I had it before the hype, I didn't think it was like amazing. Like, it was a good muffin, but was it the best muffin I had? Probably not. But also, like, I'm not really a huge muffin girl. I'm a huge chocolate girl, but I don't know. Like, I didn't think it was that great. I think some people were maybe just hyping it up for the sake of hyping it up.
You see, I had my doubts. I was like, there's just too much word
But some
on
people like gave their parents the muffin without telling them like, you know, the story behind the muffin. And the parents liked it. So I think it's pretty subjective, but I think for me personally, it was a decent muffin. Not like, I wouldn't like bring 10 back for like my family or like sneak a muffin out the village, you know.
Now to the more important questions. Yes, I want to know, how did your perspective shift from, you know, doing the Tokyo Olympics to then now approaching Paris?
Yeah, I think like when I qualified for Tokyo, I was really just happy to have qualified because nobody had done it like in Singapore fencing ever. So for me, it was like a huge milestone in my career. Like, oh wow, I just did this like huge thing. Like, you know, like the Olympics in fencing is like the biggest competition that you could ever do. So it's like in most sports, the Olympics is the biggest competition. So it's like, wow, like, I'm gonna be able to represent this little red dot, you know, like in Tokyo Olympics. But it was a bit challenging because it was during the COVID year. So it wasn't like a typical Olympics. Like we didn't have like supporters or like no like outside spectators were allowed in the hall. So it was kind of like a different atmosphere from what a typical competition would look like. Nonetheless, I was still super happy to have gone. I met my teammate in the first round, who I was like training with the entire summer. She eventually won the gold at the Olympics. We had the same coach. Just had like a super unlucky draw. She like completely killed me. Like I thought, I didn't even think I was fencing bad, but she just had the day of her life and she went on to win the gold. So I was like, can't be that upset. So the difference between that and like going to Paris was, I think I was more of like happy to be there in Tokyo, like happy to have qualified. You know, like when you do things for the first time, there's always like a different like feeling of excitement. Like don't get me wrong, I was super excited when I qualified this year too, but I also qualified in a different way. So I qualified like in terms of world ranking this year. So that was already like another milestone, because like, wow, you know, like qualified directly, like that's really tough to do. You know, only a couple of people can do that. So I was like, okay, I know I'm a strong contender in this game. I think like even though on paper like my result was the same, like I can definitely see my growth from the past 4 years. And again, of course, the girl that I fenced like wins the silver medal. So I was like, are you kidding me? Like, it was still like, it was frustrating for me because I really felt like, you know, I had a good chance this year and like I knew that I was going to give my best and I had grown a lot. But, you know, I also have no regrets because I gave my absolute best. And I think that's the mindset that I was going into, like regardless of the result, regardless of expectations I have of myself or people have of me, like I'm just gonna go in there and like give my 110%, and I'm confident enough to say that I did. And yeah, I put up a good fight, but I know that the next cycle will definitely be different for me.
When you're a competitive athlete, you know, a lot of your, I guess, accomplishments are based on like what you win, and maybe like some of yourself, like validation comes from that as well, like whatever you've won and achieved. But I think balancing that with knowing that your skill, even despite like losing competitions or not winning everything, having confidence in your skills as it is, like how do you manage both? Like how do you not let that pressure get to you?
That's a good question, because I think like I'm still trying to learn how to deal with the pressure and expectations. It's not so much of the expectations that people have of me. It's more of like the expectations that I set for myself, because I know that I can be, you know, the top in the world. Like I know I'm of that caliber. I think it's just a matter of time. So I was pretty disappointed like with myself, like after like the Paris Olympics. It took me some time to like, you know, being like, wow, I was really so close, you know, like I lost by 2 touches. So, and I was leading like in the beginning of the match till the like very end, like I was leading 12-9 and then I lost 15-13. So it was like, you know, I just got like the little taste of like what it could have been. But I don't like to talk about like could have and should have, because like if I could have done it, I would have done it, you know? So I think like it was just like learning how to be kind to myself. You know, you train every day for like 8 months. or like for like the past 4 years, like 3 years since Tokyo, like thinking about, okay, how am I going to compete in the Olympics? Like I want to be on that podium, but only 3 people can be on that podium. So it's super cutthroat. So I think I was just like trying to see like how I wanted to move on in my career after Paris, but then I also felt like I wasn't done, like I'm only 23, going to be 24 soon. Like I still have so much more to gun for, and there's no point giving up now. But having like a really good support system definitely helps. I think like reaching out to like your closest friends, your family, being honest with how you feel was what like helped me get through post-Olympic depression, if you'd say. Like just like post-Olympic like distress and emotions, because like you have this routine that you're doing every day, and the routine suddenly stops. So it's like the whole routine is for one day. Like in a sport like fencing at the Olympics, like we don't have second chances. So it's like just that each match, and if you lose the match, you're completely disqualified. So we don't have like, group stages or like stuff like that to like redeem yourself. So yeah, it was like, it took a toll on me mentally, probably. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not like exercising like 2 times a day anymore, like what I'm doing. I didn't know what to do with my free time. So it was nice to be, I spent like a whole month with like my family in France. It was nice to be with like older people, because they're just happy to be alive. And I was like, whoa, like this is a cool, different like mindset that they have. I was just like sitting on the couch doing Sudoku with my grandparents. But it was really nice, because it taught me to just like appreciate life more, and like life outside of sport, and not just make everything about like your career and your performance.
Do you think Singapore is doing enough to support people who are interested in sports and want to pursue sports as full-time career?
Yeah, I think like now with all the new announcements of like, more scholarships, there's like Specs Potential, Specs Scholarship, and all these different like Peter Lim and everything. I think they are doing as much as they can, and they've done a much better job at promoting and supporting sports. This is not a political answer. I'm telling you my honest opinion. Yeah. I think like I definitely see a growth in people who are becoming more interested in sports, which is nice to see, because like growing up, like whenever I would sit like in a Grab or something, on the way to practice, they would ask me like, what am I doing? I'm like, oh, I'm an athlete. And they're like, hi, you need to go to school, kind of thing. I'm like, it's difficult, because like, the stereotype of being like a full-time athlete, sometimes I'm still afraid to say like I'm a full-time athlete because of like the judgment that I might get from other people. But really like now, like it's kind of like a change in society. Like whenever I tell people I just went to the Olympics, if they ask something, they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Thank you for like flying our flag high. And also just seeing like more and more kids get into sports, like asking us like, how can we sign up for this? Like, how did you get your scholarship? So people are definitely interested in wanting to better themselves so that they have these opportunities. And I think Sports Singapore is doing a great job at like, creating different opportunities for people to, sign up and like try to apply for scholarships, so that, because like financially, like, traveling and everything, equipment is a lot of money. So I think they're setting up, it's a good way. We're on a good track to like helping people be better in sports, and they're definitely like taking that into consideration, which is good.
What would your message be to those who want to pursue Olympics in the future, or just sports in general?
Yeah, I think like go with what your heart desires. Like as cringy as that sounds, but seriously, like nobody knows you better than yourself, and like you have to always trust your gut. Like even though things might seem like, unreachable or like unrealistic, or like people tell you like there's no way you can be the top, like, like ignore the haters, just go and like give your best every time. Just strive for what you want. Like, you only have one life, make the most out of it. You're never gonna get these years back, and you only have like the lifespan of an athlete is so short. So try to find the resources that you can. You have to go out of your way. You have to be proactive. If you really want to reach that goal of yours, things aren't just going to come to you. Like they're not going to be handed to you. But definitely like, seek help. Like if you need, there are resources out there online, stuff like where you can find where to like sign up for certain things and get different scholarship opportunities. Sign up for that CCA class in your primary school or something. Just start with like the most basic things, and you're just going to realize that things are going to come your way, and they're going to like, come perfectly, like a little puzzle. And just like never give up on your dreams, because if I would have like just stopped fencing at like 15, like, I probably would have, I would not have been where I am today. And like sports has given me so much and taught me so much and helped me grow up. So I think, yeah, just go and follow your dreams, and don't let anybody that's not in your position tell you what you can or cannot do.
I think you've given the younger people some advice. I'm curious to know what's next. What is Amita most excited to do?
Honestly, like, just get back and be fit again.
She's ready.
Man,
She's like,
yeah,
time for the next
I took a long break, but I'm looking forward to just like building up my stamina, getting back into my fitness, seeing my peers again. I think like being back in Singapore is nice because we all train at like the National like Sports Institute. So like, you know, seeing different athletes from different sports is it's always cool because, you know, these are people that understand the journey that you're on. So like everybody has like the same goal, but like it's just in different sports. So you're not really that different. You're all just athletes trying to do the same thing, which is do Singapore proud. I had decided to continue for 2028. I thought it would be like a waste of potential if I didn't continue. So my team and I will be trying to qualify as a team for 2028, which would be another historic moment for Singapore. But regardless, like I know that it's not like I don't want to just qualify. Like I want to do something with my, you know, my talent there. So the goal is to make a podium in 28, and it's definitely not out of reach. So yeah, looking forward to that. So, but I'm not gonna get there if I don't start working. So the gym tomorrow at 10 a.m. I can't avoid, unfortunately.
I just want to take this moment to say, I think it's one thing to like, you know, be in love with what you do and ensure that you do it well. But I think to be so passionate about it, to be so willing to share and ensure that other people have the opportunity to discover this or provide a platform where people who want to pursue this have like enough information to like proceed forward. I find your work so inspiring.
Thank you so
I think
much.
you are doing an incredible job. And we are so excited to see you grow and prosper much more.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'll be back and hopefully with a little medal around my neck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amita, for
Thanks for
joining
having me.
us. It was such a pleasure.
Yes. Hope to see you guys soon.
And with that, I think it's time to finally head to the end of our episode, Miss Priyanka.
That's right. I say like every time the episode just passes in a blink, but the best part of every Sit Still Look Pretty episode, I always feel it puts you in the best mood ever. I always walk out of this door feeling like I can conquer anything and everything, and that's what I hope for our listeners too every single time when we record.
Yeah.
And that brings me to the quote of the month.
Let's hear it.
No, this time around, I'm going to give you the opportunity to say it because Priya always feels deprived. I'm the one who's saying the quote. So,
Correct.
I picked the quote out and I'll let you say it.
Yeah,
and I
it's
hope
a
you
very
like it.
good quote, I think. Yeah. And, you know, you got to practice what you preach. So let's go. Out of your vulnerabilities will come your strength by Sigmund Freud. And with that, we will catch you guys with another guest and a new cup of tea in the next episode. This is Priya
And Priyanka.
on Sit Still Look Pretty, 'cause girl, you're more than a quick gaze.